On a bright Sunday afternoon in the late 1950s, something utterly unexpected happened on a television screen across America. Viewers tuning into The Ed Sullivan Show were about to witness an unforgettable moment. Just when they thought the evening would be filled with the usual variety of acts, Elvis Presley, the king of rock and roll, took the stage for an impromptu performance. But this wasn't just any performance. Elvis returned not just to sing his hits, but to mesmerize the audience with two spiritual classics, Too Much and When My Blue Moon Turns to Gold Again. To cap it off, he closed with the deeply moving Peace in the Valley, a song that would become a hallmark of his gospel side. This performance was not out of the blue. Just days earlier, Mr. Ed, the beloved TV character, hinted at a big change for Elvis. Ed said Elvis was set to star in a film called Running Wild in Hollywood, but first, he had a mission. Elvis was going to help Hungarian refugees, and Ed Sullivan threw his support behind him. Elvis had already become an honorary citizen of Budapest for his efforts to aid those fleeing Soviet rule. His actions and performances were more than just music. They were a statement of his growing maturity and social awareness. Just a week after that compelling TV appearance, RCA released Too Much as a single. This song had a curious history. Initially recorded in 1955 by Bernard Hardison for a small R&B label, it sat in the shadows until Elvis discovered its potential. Elvis and his team reworked the song, ditching the original bridge for a guitar solo by Scotty Moore. This solo, though a bit off-key at first, became an integral part of the track. Elvis' decision to keep it, rather than replace it, showed his trust in Moore's talent. Though Too Much reached the top of the Billboard chart, it's often overlooked today, overshadowed by Elvis' other monumental hits. The flip side of Too Much featured another gem, Playing for Keeps. This country ballad showcased Elvis' versatility, with neat harmonies from the Jordanaires, his backup group. Despite its beauty, the song only reached number 21 on the charts. Elvis' label RCA was typically reluctant to credit specific performers, but this time they made an exception for the Jordanaires. This move was strategic, as the group was known for their gospel roots, and Elvis was planning to explore that side of music more deeply. Colonel Parker, Elvis' manager, wasn't keen on crediting musicians but saw an opportunity here. As Elvis transitioned from just a rock and roll sensation to a well-rounded entertainer, showcasing his collaborations was key. The Jordanaires, with their rich harmonies, were essential to many of Elvis' hits, from the classic Don't Be Cruel to the later Stuck on You. Their contributions were as vital as Elvis' own voice, even if the spotlight often shone brighter on him. During this period, Elvis was deeply immersed in creating music that blended gospel with rock and roll. For 10 days in January, he holed up in radio recorders in Hollywood. It was a marathon session that produced some of his most heartfelt work. Songs like I Believe, written by Frankie Laine, and It Is No Secret, first made famous by Red Foley, showed a softer side to Elvis. These were songs that spoke to faith and hope, far removed from the rebellious image he was known for. RCA understood that with the right marketing, these spiritual tracks could reach beyond the gospel audience. One track from these sessions, All Shook Up, changed everything. Written by Otis Blackwell, it began as a playful idea but morphed into a massive hit. The song's success pushed Elvis towards even more daring compositions, like Are You Lonesome Tonight, after his military service. Each song told a part of his story, from the innocence of his early hits to the complexities of his evolving artistry. Elvis' ability to blend genres was unmatched. On the same album where he recorded the soulful spirituals, he also captured the high-energy feel of rockers like I Beg of You and Tell Me Why. His voice, capable of both tenderness and raw power, was the bridge between worlds. Even in songs written for others, like Gene Autry's Have I Told You Lately That I Love You, Elvis infused them with his unique flair. As Elvis continued to push boundaries, his music became more than just entertainment. It was a reflection of a changing America, a voice for those yearning for change. His performances, especially those spiritual tracks, hinted at a deeper journey, one that would continue to resonate long after his tragically short life ended. In those early sessions, we see the seeds of a legend, a man who would forever change the landscape of music. During this time, Elvis was busy recording songs for his movies and exploring different musical styles. One day, he recorded a song called One Night of Sin, which was actually by another singer, Smiley Lewis. This song was quite bold for its time, talking about visiting a prostitute for the first time. Elvis likely sang it just for fun, knowing it wouldn't be released officially. Record companies back then were very cautious and wouldn't risk releasing such a song. A month later, they created a new version. They shortened the title to just One Night and changed the lyrics a bit so it wasn't as explicit. Now, it was about someone asking his girlfriend to spend the night with him. Though still a bit risque, this version could be released without too much trouble. Elvis also tried out other songs during these sessions. He recorded Blueberry Hill, originally by Dudley Brooks, but it lacked the unique touch Fats Domino gave it. Elvis was a fan of Ivory Joe Hunter's style, which appealed to both R&B and country fans. For this session, Elvis sang I Need You So, a song Hunter had written and recorded earlier. He also revisited When It Rains, It Pours, which he had tried before at Sun Records but renamed it to When It Rains, It Really Pours. Another song, Don't Leave Me Now, was set aside for his next movie, Jailhouse Rock. The team also worked on a ballad called Castles in the Sand. Elvis liked it but didn't think it fit him, so he switched to singing Bing Crosby's True Love. While singing, Elvis discovered he liked another song, Loving You, which was written by the same team that wrote Castles in the Sand. Elvis decided to sing this instead. The main goal of these recording sessions was to create music for the movie, Loving You. Elvis would later record the movie's songs and act out the scenes with the music playing in the background. They spent a lot of time perfecting these songs, taking many different tries to get it right. For example, they recorded Loving You 90 times, though some takes were just a few seconds long. The final version was released on a double CD in 2006, but listening to all those takes can feel a bit tedious. Back then, Elvis and his team were also working on songs for other films. They recorded several versions of Teddy Bear, Hot Dog, and Mean Woman Blues, among others. However, not all the songs they recorded made it to the movies. For example, Lonesome Cowboy was written by two writers from the Brill Building, but it wasn't a hit. They also tried a novelty song called Wife No. 99, which Elvis wisely rejected. Despite some criticism, Elvis's music was helping to change things culturally. In 1957, jazz legend Louis Armstrong even said he wanted to record with Elvis, showing how respected Elvis was becoming. However, Elvis faced some backlash over comments that were misreported. He actually said something different, and after realizing the mistake, he spoke positively about black music and culture in an interview. Elvis's music was playing a role in the changing attitudes towards race in America. Young white fans were exposed to African American culture through Elvis's music, which helped build support for desegregation. Black record labels also wanted their music to appeal to white audiences, hoping white teens could relate to the songs. In March 1957, RCA released All Shook Up, which became a huge hit, topping the US charts for 8 weeks. However, it faced some initial confusion in the UK charts due to a mistake with a special export version. Meanwhile, Elvis was touring and performing, though one concert was almost a disaster as the band's sound was drowned out by the crowd's screams. Elvis pushed for Bill Black to play the new electric bass, which gave the music a deeper sound. But Bill was not happy about it and once threw a guitar across the studio in frustration during a recording session. Despite this, All Shook Up was a major success, selling over 2.3 million copies in the US and becoming Elvis's first UK #1. The song's success in the UK was a bit of a mix-up. A special version meant for US soldiers in Europe was mistakenly included in a list for UK stores, leading to some confusion and initial high chart placement before RCA corrected the error. As Elvis's popularity grew, RCA decided to release an EP with spiritual songs and a Christmas album combining both religious and secular tracks. This came at a sensitive time just after Elvis met with President Nixon, following a controversial accusation by a young Marine. The timing added to the controversy, making the release of the spiritual EP seem even more significant. Elvis Presley's life took a significant turn in 1956 when he clashed with President Nixon. People thought Elvis was so angry that he even pointed a gun at Nixon, though it was just a fake. Elvis sent Nixon a friendly note later, explaining he was scared of strangers. This showed how paranoid Elvis had become, leading him to surround himself with loyal friends, forming what would be known as the Memphis Mafia. In 1956, Elvis and his family moved to a big house on Audubon Drive in Memphis. But after a year, they needed more privacy, so they sold that house and bought Graceland, a grand mansion. This place would become Elvis's home for the rest of his life. Graceland was originally a farm called Graceland, named after the owner's daughter Grace. It had 23 rooms and was a big piece of land that would later become famous worldwide. Elvis spent a lot of time at Graceland, making it fancy with bright colors and unique touches, like red phones covered in rhinestones. Though he wanted privacy, he loved his home and never planned to leave. He took care of the house and made it reflect his personality, even if some things seemed a bit flashy. Elvis's mother, Gladys, was worried about her son's life and the pressures of fame. She felt trapped and even started drinking heavily. Elvis was protective of her and disliked it when people made false claims about her drinking. Meanwhile, Elvis's manager, Colonel Parker, saw an opportunity to use Elvis's military service as a positive publicity stunt. Elvis joined the Army in 1958, which gave him a break from the spotlight and helped shape his image as a patriotic American. During this time, other stars like Frank Sinatra and Billy Graham were influential in the public eye. Sinatra disliked the rock and roll genre, calling it vulgar, while Billy Graham was a popular evangelist who often included singers in his crusades to reach a wider audience. Elvis continued to tour, even playing shows in Canada where there was strong opposition to his visit. Despite the controversy, he became a global star. He once said that Jesus was the only perfect man, noting the difference between following a perfect example and the unfair treatment that perfect people often face. A paramedic and Olympic gold medalist named Bob Richards defended Elvis, saying that everyone, including himself when younger, had struggled with bad behavior. This kind of support showed that even respected figures stood by Elvis during tough times. Through it all, Elvis's connection to Graceland remained strong. That grand house became a symbol of his life, filled with his personality and the glamour of his fame. Graceland is more than just a house. It's a piece of history reflecting the life of one of the most iconic figures in music.